Join me and Joe as we explore our real-life lactation practice. No holding back, saying it like it is, sharing the tips and tricks that have got us through, the debates we've had in our heads and hearts, and possibly opening up on topics which might get some knickers in a twist. To anyone who lives this work with passion and heart, this is for you. Follow and catch every drop. We're just raising eyebrows at each other. Welcome back to Latch Revolution.
Hi.
Hello. Nice to have you, Joe. Do you know what we're talking about today?
I do know what we are going to talk about. We are talking again about a controversial topic, I think, which is, well, you say it. You came up with the idea. You say it.
Well, I didn't come up with the general concept of this. It's like quite a common concept. We're talking about flat nipples. Yeah. Or should I say flat nipples? Oh, I feel like I need my boob, actually, to talk. Oh.
Yeah, I know. We need a little fiddle toy.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what? When I'm doing a virtual consult and I've got my crochet boob there, that I do actually, like, I play with the nipple. I'm a twiddler while I'm doing my virtual consults.
In front of them?
No.
Under the table, you're fiddling with your nipples.
And I'm pushing it in and making it inverted.
And then all of a sudden you pop it out. Here's my nipples.
Is yours like this or like this? This is what we do. Yeah.
Ooh, flat nipples. The reason why is it came up. Someone had discussed it, and I think it's quite a kind of bigger discussion topic than we ever think for me, because I think there's different aspects of it in terms of when it's happening. Is it diagnosed correctly? Is it what tools are we using? What techniques are we using? And what language are we using?
And all of these poor people that never knew that, oh, there was something wrong with my body, apparently. And I never knew that until, 5 minutes after birth, someone told me. Never knew there was something wrong with me. Like, oh.
And I think it's one of those things, like as a midwife over the years, and working as a lactation consultant, I was called in to see so many new mums she's got flat nipples. And often it wasn't what I would describe as flat nipples. For me, flat nipples is the nipple is flat to the skin, and with shaping or adjustment, it's very difficult to get any part of the nipple everting, popping out, making an erect part of its tissue. But most of the time what I was seeing was with gentle stimulation techniques to shape the breast, to try and encourage the nipple to come out. Most of them were coming out somewhat.
Yep.
I think for me, this topic that's almost like it's a non-topic for most women, yet it's still being bandied around in so many maternity units that, it's flat nipples. And like you say, we go in, we plant the seed of doubt, and then we have to be so careful with what we're saying, because yes, we might observe something, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a problem for that baby or that mum.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, like, how many newborns have you seen that randomly latch on to a different piece of skin, right?
Oh, good point. The whole bicep sucking.
Exactly. They latch onto like the collarbone of the dad or
or dad's own nipples. Yeah.
Exactly.
Have a right old go.
And every time that, like, this baby they're maybe trying to latch onto the nipple, but the baby's head is turning the other way and the baby latches onto the arm instead. Like, is that not evidence that they don't need something to be sticking out, poking into the mouth for them to be able to hold on to it? Yeah. Right. And I think, like, you're absolutely right in that. I think it's very rare, actually, that you get a true flat nipple or true inverted nipples where they don't become erect at all. I think that most of the time in that scenario, it means that when the person is relaxed and there's no stimulation whatsoever, then it is flatter. But then with some stimulation, it's enough for it to be noticeable to a baby that there's something there to be able to open their mouth onto. Right. So, I mean, it's just, I think that we've got this picture in our head that you're meant to have these really big, sticky, outy ones. Right. Where does that come from? Like, people aren't, I always tell mums that their baby has never latched onto any other nipple before. So they don't know what it's technically meant to be like. And if they've been told their nipples are flat, like, they've got nipples that are the nipples for their baby. Their baby doesn't know any different. It's completely fine.
I love that. That's so nice and so true.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us to mention that we do talk a lot about, both of us say this, almost like the nipple press is like a button towards the back part of the palate,
Yeah.
and then it like helps them to start sucking.
Yeah.
But also not all babies need that amount of stimulation to start sucking. Like some of them are just, as we know, suckers. They're gonna. And if you're a midwife or a doula and you've held a baby for a mum for whatever reason, you know that that baby's tried to latch onto you. They are almost, you could hang them from your arm, I think, and they'd be sucking on. And of course, there are some babies who really struggle, but the majority, it's about the confidence. So I think if you're going in and you're seeing flattish nipples, then we start with confidence boosting, as we would with any breastfeeding support almost. It's like we don't even need to mention it. Just like you say, those nipples are made and designed mostly pretty perfectly for that bambino.
And I do think like it's worth mentioning as well that it's not just the fact that the nipple sticks out that allows the baby to be able to find it, right? Like I think that's one of the things as well, is that we know about the rooting reflex for the babies, where when something touches their cheek or around their mouth, then they turn with an open mouth, ideally, to try to latch onto it. So we know that when there is like a sticking out nipple that's touching somewhere, then they're going to turn. But if it's not a sticking out nipple, if it's just some skin that's there, then firstly, that reflex still is stimulated. Maybe they're going to latch like a little bit too low or a little bit too high, but there is all of the other glands around it, those Montgomery glands that are secreting the oil. There is so much about the smell. There is the changing color of the areola as well, that is, makes it like a target for them as well. There's so many other things that are not just about whether or not your nipple sticks out like 1 millimeter or 4 millimeters or 7 millimeters. There's other people that are told that their nipples stick out too much and that it causes a problem because they're too big and too long, right? Like you have to get into the tiny little 40 to 60% of nipple length for it to be an appropriate amount, right? It's not the case.
No, it's not. And there are like longer nipples, and there are babies that attach, and you've probably seen them as well. I know we're going to the other extreme now, and they'll latch on, and then I've seen them kind of have a little bit of a gag reflex, shuffle back, and then they feed brilliantly, and you think, you look like you've got mostly nipple in your mouth and not much areola, but somehow this is working. Okay. So it's almost like, for a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time, it does work for that woman's specific breast. So that baby is connected, like Mother Nature does her job.
Right. And if you go into that mother and you say, whoa, your nipples are super long, your baby's gagging, like, also incredibly damaging, right? Yeah. And then we see that, it works fine. So we've just got to see what happens a lot of the time, right?
Can we talk about shaping then? Because this is one of those things that I see a lot in the early days. And I'm more in the early days than you. So just because of how our roles work, which is actually really brilliant, because Joe sees a lot of babies a bit further down the track, and I've spent a lot of time in the hospital and seen those early days where everyone's fumbling around, and there's a lot of still this kind of not baby-led feeding, and whether that's right or wrong, it'll be another podcast. Well, I'm not going to get into that, but if we're doing kind of traditional holds and shaping the breast, see, I'm already grasping my own breast. I do need to come to this podcast with a woolly boob.
Boob, yeah.
Yeah, I can't. It's just, you can't. Like, if you've been in this role for so long, how? It's just, the big thing is, you know how we talk about these C holds and these V holds? I wonder if this is going to come over on a podcast. You'll have to watch us on YouTube. So a lot of the time, it's natural to bring your hand straight next to your breast and go into a C hold. But we're holding the baby in a way that their mouth is making like almost a cross with where the mouth would open wide onto the breast.
Show me again on your boob.
So we're holding the breast like this. The baby's coming with its mouth side on. Where's the length of the mouth? This is something I talk about in videos with demonstrations, because it's much easier than doing it over the earwaves.
Well, here, like with your C hold, you've got your thumb on the top of your breast, right?
Thank you.
So you're very welcome. So when you've got your thumb on the top of the breast, then it's like, my general concept is that I want your thumb, if you're going to do any kind of shaping at all, then I want your thumb to be where the baby's nose is going to be. So
I was
If
waiting to
you,
see what you said because
Mhm.
I didn't know what you said. And I say, make a moustache with your thumb.
Oh,
I give all babies moustaches. It's
that's
really
pretty
bad.
cute.
But I want your thumb to be the moustache because then it's going to follow your baby
I'm never going to look at that
in.
the same again. It's great.
So it is the moustache, like wherever the baby is, it's not, you just follow the baby's top lip with your thumb in
Hmm.
terms of the direction of your shaping. And actually, I think that comes across over the airwaves.
Hmm. Hmm. For sure. So, I mean, if you're going to do that C shape that you were just demonstrating before, where your thumb is at the top of your breast, then I mean, I'm too close to you, but like this way, right? Yeah, thank you. In that scenario, that would work fine if you've got a baby that's quite vertical on the body, right? But if you're doing a cradle hold where they're horizontal across your body, then you're going to have to move your hands around. Yeah. But, this is something where, again, this is why I wanted to do this podcast because we have these conversations and sometimes we have differing perspectives. So you're talking about C hold, U hold, V hold, whatever you call it. I call it a U hold, but you can call it a V hold, same, same. I don't do those, Katie. I don't do them. I feel like so many times people are told that they've got to do the sandwich, make a burger, that kind of business, right? And then just shove it in and wait till they've got a mouth open and then shove it in. And what
Wait. No shoving in. No shoving in.
this is
Baby to
what
breast. Baby to breast.
this is what I hear that my people have been told already, right? Not that this is what you're meant to do if you're doing the burger, but I hear that people are told you wait till your baby's mouth is open, you make a burger with your boob, and then you shove it in. Is what I hear. And um, what I see very often, I mean, I tend to see babies like 10 days plus usually. And in that scenario, I often see that the babies are in that situation where now there is a nipple that's potentially sitting on their tongue and they are doing that thing where they're just, it's there and they just can't kind of close their mouth. And the mum is like, it's right there, close your mouth, right? And they're on and off and they're on and off and they can't connect in some way. So what what I do instead always is, yes, I do that thumb. Like I said, I follow the thumb wherever the nose is of the baby. So make a moustache. I love that. But I'm not actually grabbing like from underneath the breast to squish it. I'm just doing a press on the very top of the breast at the base of the nipple. Bingo. So
Flipple.
the flipple, that's right. So
Yeah.
in that scenario, we're not actually kind of shaping the entire breast, but we're making the nipple redirect and point to the very top of the baby's palate. And as soon as you've got, we've talked about this, Katie, the magic button on the inside, as soon as you've got contact with the top of the palate, that is the thing that can help the baby actually connect and properly latch. Not every time. Sometimes you have points where it's difficult for a variety of reasons, but that very often is the magic key. So I tend to be like, maybe when it's very early, doing that kind of burger is a way to kind of get them going at the beginning. I'm not sure. Like, we are in that different space. But I see if that's not working and they're coming to me later and it's still not working, then we're just doing the thumb. We're just doing that flip and that's it.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I
Oh,
have
what a
flipple. I think it's about trying what works. Yeah, love the flipple. It's also easy. I find with the shaping, often they've in the early days, that handling of the breast has not been done. And also an understanding about where the shape of the breast, the amount of tissue that's got to go into the mouth, that can be really helpful. But also when I'm shaping, even if it's a full shape and not just a thumb flipple, I'll be getting them to press a bit further down on that nipple so it flips it up. That's why it's called flipple. Definitely agree.
Yeah.
So then comes the question that came to me the other day. It's like someone had gone into support, mums in the hospital, and they've immediately got nipple shields for flat nipples.
Like immediately, as in how?
Immediately within 24 hours. My view, I'm controversial with nipple shields, I must say. I think I'm controversial because I'm not totally against them. I'd rather a baby feed on the breast with a nipple shield than be separated pumping and feeding with a bottle or a cup. or a syringe. However, I think there is a time and a place. And as a lactation consultant with experience, I've used nipple shields at the very, very beginning, but not without lots of follow-up, lots of support, probably using a supply line of extra milk. There's probably been a reason why I'm in there early anyway for this baby. But for the general population, am I going to start using a nipple shield right at the beginning? Most likely not, because time and confidence boosting and skin to skin contact is probably what is needed in those early days. Also, we have colostrum. We don't have tons of milk flowing. And so is that baby just kind of sucking on this very thin silicone? And what is that doing? Is it training the baby to suck? Maybe. Maybe not. It's very rare that I'm going to use it very, very early, but I'm not ruling it out. As a lactation consultant, thinking on my feet with certain specifics, perhaps mum who's already had a breastfeeding experience that was very bad and she needs to connect with that baby, I might use it. But I'm not going to go willy-nilly and use them. I think that if we've got flat nipples, if that's what we are terming them, then we just need a lot of time, patience, good language skills, good boosting, and looking at the ergonomics of how this mum and baby fit together.
So you think that it is controversial, potentially controversial, to say that nipple shields are not the enemy? Is that correct?
Oh, definitely. I feel like there is a massive backlash for nipple shields.
I hear you, but, again, we are on the same page there. This is one of these things where it is a tool that was invented for a reason.
Exactly.
And I tend to say that really the only time that I would consider using a nipple shield is for a baby that just cannot latch. But the thing is, so I don't use it for pain. It tends to not get rid of the pain. It just masks it. But again, if that woman wants a nipple shield and she feels like it's relieving some of her pain temporarily while we fix the problem, and it enables her to continue to breastfeed, then okay, right? But it tends to not be the way that I personally would use it. But again, it's a tool. So I would most of the time only use it for a scenario where a baby is not latching at all. But then the difficulty is, where is that line? Where do you say, okay, well, that baby's not latching? Because if they haven't latched in the first hour after birth, is that a baby that's not latching? No. What if they haven't latched in the first 4 hours? And then ideally we're going to want that mum to start to express and to start to turn on all of those cells. Is that baby not latching at 4 hours and they need a nipple shield? I say no. And I think that's the line, is to say, okay, well, when do we say that baby is not able to latch? Then we need a nipple shield to try to help them out. And for me, again, I'm not working in that hospital birth space, but when I'm doing my prenatals with women and we're talking about, potentially this is a mum who has the first time around been using a nipple shield the entire time, and that's maybe her great fear, is that she's going to have to do that again and she wants to do everything to avoid it, then in that scenario, I will say don't use one until you've had a baby that has not latched for minimum 24 hours. If they haven't latched for 24 hours, then we can consider it, and we can be really careful with the shape of it. We're not just going to be using I'm not going to name drop, but the major brands. I've got very specific kinds of shapes that I think are really helpful to be able to get off later. But we need to be protecting lactation, doing some hand expression, making sure that there's colostrum getting into the baby. We've got the other backups. But I reckon, I don't know how you feel about it, but I reckon we've got a solid 24 hours of skin to skin, assessing how the baby is able to open their mouth, have a look at what else is potentially going on that's making this difficult for the baby, and ease it in as much as we possibly can, while remembering that that baby has never latched on any other nipple before either.
No, absolutely. I bet you didn't know then that in most hospitals, or in the UK and Australia, and I think in New Zealand, there's often policies or guidelines where you can't use a nipple shield until the milk is in.
No.
That's why they're controversial.
Whoa.
Yeah, some hospitals have them locked away, so only the lactation consultant can use them. And if the lactation consultant's not on shift on weekends,
then none are available.
So that's why they are controversial. And I used to get midwives who I'd always discuss this, and I kind of we're putting our heads above the parapet parapet of IBCLC because it seems a very controversial thing. And that's why I think it's very important. And, you know, if you listen to us, if you've done anything, if you heard Joe speak, if you heard me speak, and most of us out there, I think, in this field, you can't just zone in on it's a nipple problem. The baby is 24 hours old, 48 hours old. You can't. Like, has that mom had a really medicalized labor and birth? So therefore, that baby's probably likely to be sleepy. And is that baby sleepy and not latching on? Or is that baby having a problem with latch? Is that baby really trying blimmin' hard and just, the whole head shake business and coming on and falling off and coming on and falling off and then shaping and the flipple and you trying everything and you've had skin to skin and you've tried the koala hold and the underarm and the cross cradle and the finding and you've had loads of skin to skin. You've done the whole gamut. Then, what other tool can we use? But if you're there and it's within 24 hours that mum's had an induction of labor, tons of fluid, she had pethidine, another pethidine, she had an epidural, she ended up with an emergency C-section, and that baby maybe was pulled out with forceps as well, and that baby's just wanted to sleep for the last 24 hours, well, that's not a reason for a nipple shield. That baby's just needing to process. And that mum might have inverted nipples, flat nipples, really pointy nipples. It doesn't matter. That's the scenario and that's the situation. And I think that's where anything in life is always about nuance. But when we take that zoomed out perspective is what is probably going to be the whole premise of everything we ever say on this podcast, in real life, in conferences. But it's so nuanced. And I think sometimes we miss it. And we get these guidelines in hospitals or we get locked up nipple shields, which I just think is utterly ridiculous because I think also that makes a them and us against midwives and lactation consultants, which I hate. It makes midwives feel like they're not skilled enough or they need specific training, which midwives don't. They're very intelligent, they're very knowledgeable. And if you give them education, they will run with it. And we need to have the belief that also we can support with tools temporarily until things are going better and we will get off. And the research shows that. The research shows that with preterm infants, they're using nipple shields for about an average of 30 days. And it also shows that they transfer more milk, they stay on for longer. And yet we're even kind of putting nipple shields behind locked doors with preterm infants. Like, it's crazy. It actually can benefit them. Doesn't mean we need to give them out 100%. I've seen that in one Australian hospital. Every preterm baby at 36 weeks got a nipple shield. So it's about balance. But I think the whole thing with flat nipples is just, let's reframe, not be scared, give mum and baby time, give the nipples time to not be so shy. You know, also, if you've got like the type of nipples, like I'm holding my boobs again, you've got the type of the nipples that, you know, they pop out when you're excited, you know, in the middle of a maternity ward, when everyone's walking in and out, your nipples are not really going to be going, hello, I'm up for it. Come on, everyone have a look. Like, our whole body kind of shuts down. And so if you've got the nipples that are just like, I'm just going to stay dormant and not show myself, well, they're not going to do it when we're then. And then if we then say, oh, you've got flat nipples, well, then they're never coming out, are they? Until they get home. Right. Then all of a sudden they've got a poppy outy nipple. Oh, what a surprise.
Right. I just think, like, I mean, that terminology, like, you don't say to everyone that doesn't have a flat nipple, you don't say, oh, you've got everted nipples, right? They just
got pointy nipples. Can you imagine if we said this about men's appendages? Got a flat penis. Oh, got pointy penis. Put that away.
Exactly. Right.
Also, they don't come out and say hello if they're a bit shy and a bit observed. Well, mostly in the hospital environment. You know, it's not really conducive.
Exactly. Right. So I just think, like, to be able, like you said, to just try and reframe it in that, you know what, they're just nipples. They're not flat. They're just nipples, and they're not better or worse than ones that stick out or ones that stick in. They're just a different shape, as are all of us in all different ways, right?
Thanks, Joe. I think we've discussed flat nipples.
I think so. You know what we didn't discuss? I know that you were, like, wrapping up then, but sorry, I'm not done.
What have we forgotten?
We've forgotten about all of the tools to suck out the flat nipple.
Oh!
Yeah, right? And so, just super briefly, these tools, you know, there's things like where you got to put, like, people have chopped off the end of a syringe and then suck the nipple out. There are these, like, little silicone hats that you can stick on them to pull them out. There's all sorts of things like that. What I see again is that it is a thing that people tend to get in pregnancy because they have got this idea that there is something about their nipples that is less than ideal. And they have, again, not even given the baby a chance to discover what their particular nipple is like. So, again, it's a tool. Hopefully, if it ends up being used at any point, hopefully it's not going to cause that mother any kind of injury or pain in the process. That's 100% not necessary. But we've just got to be able to give the babies a chance to discover what that breast is like and what it feels like in their mouth.
Totally agree. And we see that really with the research that they don't make a huge amount of difference.
Right.
However, I think if someone's very worried about it in pregnancy and they feel it gives them some control over, and it can go both ways, because they could be using it and not seeing a difference, which is more than likely, or they could be using it and as a placebo effect, it makes them see their nipples differently, or they feel more control over it, then it could be helpful. But again, like anything, it's like hand expression. Might teach someone to hand express in pregnancy, all gung-ho, it's going to do this and this and this, and then not even a drop comes out. Like that can knock someone totally off their game. And we need to be cautious. Also, I worry about the whole syringe. I mean, chop the top off and use the back of the syringe. But also sometimes when nipples are more flat, you might actually have quite a wide nipple base, and we could be causing damage when we're putting a lot of that vacuum. And how much vacuum do you get? Like if you're really sucking that in, that can be quite damaging. And like the tissue's really friable in the beginning. How many of you seen like a baby who's latched on below the nipple during the night and there is a big hickey and now it's bright yellow, or damage from a pump or from hand expression? So being cautious with them. I think if someone comes to you to discuss it, just being honest about, we don't really know if they work. The research hasn't really shown us that there's any difference in practice. I haven't seen it really do anything. And having that conversation, like Joe said so beautifully, your breast is designed for your baby. Also, your baby has never latched onto any other nipple. So why would it not be perfect? But this is such a good topic, and I completely forgot. I did a video on TikTok when I was giving TikTok a go, and it's got, I think, 250,000 views, and it's on flat nipples. Like this is a topic that it troubles, and a lot of young people were on there who weren't even pregnant, hadn't even had a baby, and they're discussing it. It's, I mean, we have media, we have porn, we do not see flat nipples.
Right.
But they are out there because we are lactation consultants with a mixture of probably 35 years of lactation between us. Lactation. And we've seen a lot of nipples. And those nipples are all different.
They are. It's quite amazing.
And most of the babies have fed for what?
This is true.
Well, not for us, they fed for their mums, but you know.
Yeah.
So patience is a virtue.
Nuance as well. I think that's take-home message as well, is that there is no hard and fast rule for every nipple and for every baby and for every particular hour after birth, is that it takes judgment.
Yep. Thanks, Jo.
Thanks, Katie.
We'll see you next time. Before you dash, a quick invite. Our new pro course, Decoding the Suck, is open. Think practical skills for tricky feeds, taught without the fluff. And if you're a midwife, doula, or anyone who just loves lactation, or maybe you're a mum-to-be or a new parent, Katie has more courses waiting for you. All the deets, find them in the show notes. And whilst you're there, please do all those podcasty things. Follow, 5-star it, and of course share it with a colleague. We'll catch you on the next drop.